Good morning, good afternoon, wherever my .NET friends are throughout the world. You know what time it is. It's another episode of the On .NET Live show, where our mission is to empower you, the .NET community, to achieve more. I'm your familiar host, Scott Addie. Joining me today are a couple of new faces. We have co-hosts Mehul Harry and Katie Savage. Mehul and Katie, I'll toss it over to you to briefly introduce yourselves to the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Scott. I'm Mehul Harry. I am the .NET PMM, and I'm excited today to speak with our guest. Katie, I'll hand it up to you.
Yeah, hi everybody. It's great to be here. I'm Katie Savage. I'm a PM on the .NET community team, and I'm super excited to be here with our guest today.
And on that note, Katie, so we have a very special guest for today's show. I'd like to hand it over to you at this point to introduce Rich and to drive the conversation forward.
Yeah, that sounds great. So super excited to have Rich Reed here with us today. He is the Director of Platform Development for Spinutech and also a big user of nopCommerce and a bit of a Nop expert. So he's going to be talking us through nopCommerce, how they're using .NET, and even more. Rich?
Yeah, thanks for having me. As Katie mentioned, I'm the Director of Platform Development. I lead our .NET development team at Spinutech, and excited to be here to talk to you guys about nopCommerce, especially some of the benefits that the platform has been receiving from running on .NET 7, current version of .NET. We're going to take a look at some real-world implementations of nopCommerce, so you can kind of see what it does and what people do with it. And then we're going to go through a plugin example where we're actually going to replace some of the core Nop functionality in a way that is upgradable and maintainable and doesn't actually change the core Nop source. And that's basically how Nop development works on this platform. And then we'll tell everyone how you can get started with the platform.
Yeah, that sounds great to me. I think a good place to start would be, what is nopCommerce and how did you come to find it?
Sure. If we can bring up the slide deck. So nopCommerce is I mentioned it's an open source platform. It runs on .NET. It has been running on .NET. It was created back in, I guess it was launched back in 2008. It was actually launched on web forms, believe it or not, and ASP.NET 2.0, I believe it was. But here we are today, .NET 7, C#, Razor, MVC. But its claim to fame really is that it is a e-commerce framework. It's not a shrink-wrapped e-commerce solution where you just stand it up and create your store and that's it. It's really designed to be customized. So they've built it in a way that you can extend the core e-commerce functionality in a lot of different ways by creating plugins, by creating overrides, and we'll go through and show how you accomplish some of that stuff in the code a little bit later on. The great thing about Nop is, it adapts to your business. So for the people that are looking for an e-commerce platform for their online business, it doesn't box you in to a certain set of features that you might see on other platforms. If you need to do custom integrations with CRM or ERP, this is a great place to do it. If you have custom product models that you want to use, another great place. If you have a custom UI, a custom theme that you want to do, want a certain look and feel for your site, this is a great platform to do it. Another kind of notable thing for Nop is that it's testable and upgradable. So they do a major release once a year. And if you architect your solution using best practices, you can follow those upgrades and you can keep up to date on the latest .NET version. And that upgrade path is really important because when you build a website, you generally don't launch it and then walk away from it, right? The site grows with your business. The technology grows, security updates, things like that. A couple other, go ahead.
So Rich, yeah, so let's first start with the open source right there. So
Yeah,
open source meaning that this is not a paid product?
yeah. This is, you download the code from GitHub and it is free.
All right.
It is truly open source. They ask that you keep the nopCommerce name displayed on the product. But other than that, there is basically no charge, no licensing for the core product or for upgrades.
Oh, that's fantastic. So folks can contribute to it as well. So if they're improving on the product, I'm sure you get a lot of pull requests.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you check out their GitHub. It's pretty active. People submit requests. People provide code updates, and it's all managed by the nopCommerce team. It's a really active Git project.
And I know we're going to dive into some code and excited to see all that extensibility and testability. But I want to ask you, like, what is the differentiation? Like, if I'm a ASP.NET developer today, and you said this is not for something just pulling off the shelf, right? I connect to Stripe or something like that. What's the difference? Like, what's my scenario where I say I need nopCommerce?
Sure. Let's kind of, I got a slide for that. So, some of it depends on who the decision maker is, right? And what's interesting is for a lot of website projects, we have marketing teams that come to us and say, hey, we need a website. But for e-commerce, we generally have CIOs or CTOs come to us. The technology has already been defined, and the people that come to us for these types of sites are already on the Microsoft tech stack. So they've already bought into the Microsoft platform. They want to stay on that platform. And Nop is one of the leading e-commerce solutions on that platform. You look around at some of the other top 5 and they're PHP. Some of them are locked into hosted solutions. So your customization is a little bit limited. But first and foremost, if you want to be on the Microsoft tech stack, this is a great product for you. If you have in-house .NET developers, a lot of people have their in-house dev teams that are managing their CRM or their ERP. They have a dynamic solution in place, and they have they have that skill set already in-house. So again, great solution for that. Custom integrations. If you need to do custom integrations, the reason that it's important to indicate custom is that you don't have to modify your ERP to fit the e-commerce solution some e-commerce plugin that you're trying to integrate with as you do with other sites. With this one, you can custom build that integration and you can tweak it however you want, and make it work exactly the way you need. If it's a one-way integration or two-way integrations, you have the ultimate flexibility there. Some companies need full source for regulatory purposes. They get audited. They have investors. They need that exposure, and they need to be able to show, here's the full source code for auditing purposes. So it's great for that. You're not going to get that type of exposure with other platforms. Custom checkout workflows and custom product content. Whether you're doing B2B or B2C, this is a great platform for it. It supports both small business and enterprise. And really, even if you're not building a e-commerce site for your business, .NET developers that want to get better at their C# skills and leveraging the latest technologies, they want to work with the latest .NET platform. This is an awesome project to just download and work with and build your own plugin. And this is the type of platform that will make you a better developer. I've seen it happen for myself and for people on my team. It's an incredible educational tool. I've told multiple people that they should teach a college course on this. This should be a semester, and you could fill out a semester just leveling up people's .NET development skills on this project.
I love that. Honestly, like folks are always asking, how do I get involved with open source?
Yeah.
And how do I improve .NET skills? I mean, this is the perfect combo. I love that. And I think the extensibility, I keep hearing that theme quite a bit here, right? Is that you normally when you work with a platform, you want to go beyond. Maybe you want to have custom in-house rules, perhaps, or how you process certain payments with certain countries, certain states. So just as a quick aside, like what's the oddest extensibility point you've seen develop for nopCommerce?
The oddest one. Wow. Let's see.
Like if I make a custom bank that maybe funnels a penny off to my personal account, is that possible, Rich?
Well,
Kidding.
You've got access to the source code. Anything's possible.
Of course not. Of course not. But
yeah, I don't know that there's any really out of the ordinary ones. I'll show you guys some examples of some. You can tell me whether you think they're out of the ordinary. But I think most of the requests that people have are pretty legit, and 99.9% of the time they're within the capabilities of this framework.
And you support all the popular frameworks, right? Like the out of the box ones so if I've chosen an existing platform that, I can get up and running.
Let me
rephrase that. Like, is there existing extensions now that I can pull up?
Absolutely. So some of the out of the box integrations that you get just by installing the project. They've got UPS shipping integration out of the box. MailChimp, Brevo is another mail management service, and payment providers. PayPal, CyberSource, Avalara is a tax provider. It's I don't know if everyone knows who Avalara is, but they're probably the number one tax provider. They will do the tax calculation for you. So you know how there's different tax rates in not just by state, by county, by city, local tax. That integration handles all of that for you. Facebook and Google integrations. What3words is an address verification tool that helps you standardize your addresses. And these are just what you get out of the box. This is what the NOP team bundles with the solution. There is an entire marketplace of third-party plugins that you can purchase, and they're relatively inexpensive. We're talking anywhere $100 to $200 maybe for some real robust functionality.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, and especially I have some experience with trying to do taxes with different states.
Yeah,
that can be a headache. And so yeah, I love that you've already factored in a lot of that logic and functionality out of the box.
Yeah, it takes a lot of the pain out of assembling or e-commerce solution. I want to jump back here real quick, just for some stats.
Yeah, please.
So as far as what's out in the wild here, 60,000 live stores. They've recorded 30 million downloads, 250,000 community members. They have a really active community forum, and then 150 technology partners like ourselves.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, Rich, it's such a big community. I'm wondering, if I wanted to check out NOP for the first time, what kind of resources do you all have for folks kind of leveling up on NOP?
Yeah, so NOP actually has an online training program where if you're starting out with nopCommerce, now I think that the prerequisite is that you know something about C# and .NET development. They're not going to necessarily teach you that, but they will teach you how to extend their platform and take advantage of theming and all of that. And it's something like over 100 training videos where they walk you through all the different steps, all the different aspects of nopCommerce development. and ultimately lead you to a developer certification that they have on their site.
Wow.
And you have docs available as well?
Absolutely. Online documentation for both developers and designers. So a big part of your e-commerce is not just for, not just development, but you want to theme the site, you want to skin it, you want to brand it for your company's brand. And there's a whole set of designer documentation on the proper way to create a theme for nopCommerce. And when we get into the examples, you're going to see probably no two nopCommerce sites look the same.
All right. Now, quick question. Where does the name come from?
The name, I don't know. I think ABC Commerce was already taken when they were kicking it around.
So it's not new, original, priceless.
No. The legend is that it's just 3 letters from the alphabet. So NOP.
Interesting. I would not have guessed that.
And if anyone has sit around and tried to come up with a name for a product or a company, it can be pretty nerve-wracking, and they may have just whittled it down to 3 letters in the alphabet, and it was a done deal. So that is the legend.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Let's do this. Let's get it. Let's pull up some sites and see what some nopCommerce sites look like.
Yeah, please.
Ooh.
All right. I'm going to start with, let's see what a nopCommerce site looks like out of the box. This is when you install it. The installation is pretty painless. You point it to a database. It creates your starter database and loads some media assets in there, so you can kind of get in and start looking around. This is the home page. They've got some sample product categories. You got some featured products. You can create news and blogs, polls, anything you need in here. You drill down into maybe a product category and even product details. We'll look at this build your own computer, and this is your product detail page. You've got your multiple images, but if you kind of just look down the side, you've got ratings, you've got star ratings that are available to you. You can add reviews. You've got stock quantity. So if you have stock quantity information, they've got that hooked up. Shipping options. If you have a product that, like in this case, is free shipping, you can set that up. And then you've got product attributes. So as you go through, and if you have a product where there are multiple selections, you can go through and this is kind of an ancient computer, but you can select your options and then basically add it to your cart. And
that's impressive.
The shopping cart is pretty much what you would expect. Again, this is core functionality, but even once you get in here, you've got discount codes are available to you. It's got a great discount code engine where you can define discount code rules. Gift cards are supported. I mentioned earlier the UPS integration. So I've got this site hooked up to a UPS account, and you can instantly see, now these are all 0 because I chose a product that was free shipping, but you see the estimated delivery dates. It gets that from over the UPS API. So those are available even before you start the checkout process.
And gift wrapping. Love to see that.
Wrapping, there you go. Let's gift wrap it.
Rich, I do have a question for you as I'm looking at this. I'm trying to get a sense of what's included in the box. Now, let's say I'm a Canadian customer. I come here and I see US dollars.
Yeah.
Is there a way in the in the offering to convert from one currency to another, say from USD to Canadian dollars?
Sure. So nopCommerce is multilingual, multi-currency out of the box. And I'm going to bring over one of our first site examples. This is Volvo. And I'm going to drill down to a product. This site is running on nopCommerce. And when we drill down to a product page, you see that we've got a few different languages that we can switch around to on here, but we can also change the currencies. And this is all functionality that's out of the box. For any product that you set up in Nop, you have the ability to do these currency conversions. The content supports multilingual. So when you go in and edit content, it's not going to do the translation for you, but it provides you ways to enter your French content, your German content, your Spanish content, and it's all managed within the same product. So it makes it easy if you want to pass that off to translators to do the translation for you. But the core of it, really from day one, has been set up to be multilingual, multi-currency.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, and you mentioned that you, being a global product that's been around since 2008, you likely have customers around the world.
Absolutely, yeah. There are, on the nopCommerce website, there are showcases of a lot of international sites with a lot of different languages. So yeah, they have lots of great references.
And can you go back to the homepage real quick on the other one, the first example you showed?
Yes.
So on the homepage there, out of the box, so we've got authentication there, right? So we've got a set of users, and then I assume that you've got obviously maybe a table for products. How does that typically work? Like, do you have a set amount of data, right, already structured, and then folks can bring in their local data? And do you find, is there like generally like a manual process? Is there any tools that exist now to kind of map the two?
Sure. So when we're setting up a new nopCommerce site, one of the first questions is, most people generally have an existing site and they need to get the data in. So there's lots of ways to do that. You can there's a web API that you can actually post all of your data to if you want to do that. There are import processes. If we go, let's just jump into the product admin here. You can import. They have a spreadsheet format. You can import your products from a spreadsheet. You could do a direct database integration if you wanted to. And then for even just like a starter site, if you just have a few products and maybe you don't need to do a massive import, I'll kind of show you like kind of how easy it is to just create a new product if you're starting from scratch. And why don't we create on .NET Classic T. You've got a short description that will show up in your search results, and then you've got a formatted rich text editor if you want to do like a more like an HTML description where you can kind of set headings and styles. You can have all of your brand fonts set up in here. Let's see, since we're creating a t-shirt, we're going to put this in a clothing category. So you assign your product to a category. And let's see, let's go ahead and save this for starters. And that will allow us to upload some photos. So they make it really simple to upload photos. I'm going to just drag a bunch of photos in here. And here we go. We've got all of our product photos set up. And let's see, how much should we charge for our t-shirt?
$1 billion.
How about $10?
All right.
So let's go ahead and save this. And let's go see what this looks like on the front end. We've got a live product now in our clothing category is where we added it. And here is our on .NET Classic tee.
Wow.
All right. We've got, you can see the different colors. Now what we need to add are some sizes and some color selections. So let's just jump back here real quick. And we're going to go to product attributes, and we're going to add a color attribute, which is going to be a drop-down list. And let's just save that one. And then we're going to add a, let's see, we've got a size attribute. And these attributes are things that you set up. Some of these are out of the box, but they're things that you can create new types of attributes. So let's save this one. And now we've got some colors and some sizes, and I believe, yeah, we've got some pre-selected colors. So let's see how we're doing here on the front end. So we've got different colors. We've got different sizes that we can choose from. It would be nice, wouldn't it be nice if we could, if the image changed as we selected the colors? And that's actually really easy to do. If we go back in and here's our colors of our shirts, we can go in and say this blue shirt is associated with this image. We can say, let's hook up our green one. Let's hook up our pink one.
I love how straightforward it is.
I'll do, let's see, this is our gray shirt. And last one is our white shirt. And you notice in here with each of these color combinations, if there was a price differential, let's say your the white shirt was an additional $2 charge, you could add that in here and that would carry through for the rest of the site. So we've got these guys all hooked up. And if we go back and refresh our product page here, there we go. So that's kind of, the experience that you would expect to see in an e-commerce store.
All right, that's awesome. I love that you've got that built in. And, if someone is, let's say, working on the in a certain department, they can also take that on just through the interface. So that's also really cool without having to maybe build it out to the back end. And on the admin screen, it looks like you've got like reports, you've got all sorts of amazing things built in. So, I want to make sure, can we talk a little bit about the architecture? How is nopCommerce built?
Yeah. So you want to open up the hood, huh?
Let's see what's in the hood.
Under
the hood.
Let's do that. So I've got a slide that I borrowed, or an image that I borrowed from, this is actually in the nopCommerce documentation. But I thought it was a good summary of kind of like the different layers. And everything kind of starts with .NET. In this case, the latest is .NET 7 at the center. Everything runs on top of that. We've got Nop Core, which is the first, basically, these are all individual projects in the solution that you'll see in a few minutes. But you've got Nop Core, which contains all of your domain objects. So these are all your, how you map your SQL Server database to a C# class. It contains some things like some caching, some of the caching logic, and some event handling and security. Go out one layer to Nop Data. This is your data access layer, and this is what allows them to support multiple databases. We go out one more to Nop Services. The services are basically this is where all your CRUD operations live. This is how you get data in and out of the database. This is where you build your link queries and do your tax calculations, your shipping cost calculations, your discounting, things like that. Let's see, we go out one more. Nop Web Framework it's actually a framework within a framework. It's the framework for the presentation layer. So it's a collection of helper classes. They've got tag helpers in there. They have some of their own nop tags that will help you create some really rich looking UIs without writing a lot of HTML and JavaScript. So that's nop Web Framework. And then basically the presentation tier is right here on the outside ring. Nop Web is all your models, your views, your controllers, model factories, and they separate them between admin and the public front end for to control access and security to some of those. And then you see down here on the lower half are all of their unit tests. So every layer in the architecture is testable, and they provide you unit tests out of the box. I think there's something like over 700 unit tests that you get out of the box. So everything is testable, and which is awesome when you start doing your own development and you start overriding their classes. Those unit tests will actually hit your plugin code and will help you identify if you're creating a breaking change.
Well, that's awesome. Look, a couple of questions on the data layer. Is that built with Entity Framework?
The data layer is actually, the current data layer is linked to DB. Mm-hmm. That is kind of like the query engine. And then it uses Fluent Migrator for data migration. So it's a code first model. You create all of your domain objects first, and then the Fluent Migrator will help you with actually generating your entities.
Oh, nice. That's a nice abstraction. And then at the presentation layer, mm-hmm. Do you get any folks who either extend it, or is it possible to perhaps even add your own version of a presentation layer? How would you like folks to sort of work with that onion?
Yeah, so there's I mean, you have a lot of different options for presentation. Nop has a great presentation layer out of the box. But let's say you have a team of React developers and you want to do a React front end, you can absolutely do that. They have a web API that provides access to basically all the same methods and services that their out of the box presentation layer has. But you could build an entire React front end to the site if you'd like to. Their built-in engine is pretty darn good. And some of the things that are available to you out of the box, it's based on Bootstrap. There's jQuery in there. Admin LTE is their admin dashboard framework. Because if you think about it, a lot of times half of the development that we do for a new e-commerce site is back-end customization. It's not all just presentation front-end stuff. A lot of times we end up customizing, adding new admin pages, adding new reports, adding new admin functionality. So they have a great framework for that. Their grid framework is the data tables jQuery plugin, which is pretty robust. And let's see, let me just run down through these. In the infrastructure area, C# .NET 7, NUnit for their unit tests, AutoMapper, and then I mentioned Link2DB Fluent Migrator. For data sources, we've got SQL Server, Azure Blob Storage, and Redis. So Azure Blob Storage, you can leverage to store your images. So you want to do that, you take advantage of the CDN capabilities of Azure Blob Storage. You can point this at a container, and all your product images will be uploaded and scaled to different presentation sizes, and those URLs will pull those images off the CDN for the actual loading of the web pages. And there's a huge advantage to that because now, for one, you've got a distributed network where you're pulling your images, right? E-commerce sites are generally image heavy. We have some e-commerce sites that have 100 images on the homepage. So, so you want to be pulling those. You don't want to pull all of that from your web server. So Azure Blob Storage is a great solution for that. And then Redis, if you need to do distributed caching, if you're going to do a web farm, multiple servers, they have Redis support built in.
No, that's fantastic, especially what you mentioned about the blob storage. That can really bite you if you don't architect it properly. So the fact where you can just offload it to the cloud with CDN support, I think that's fantastic. So let me ask, can we see a little bit of what this experience looks like in Visual Studio?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, let me, while we're talking about tech, we'll jump over to Visual Studio for a second here. Let me jump over and just talk real quick about some of the benefits that we've seen since we've upgraded to .NET 7. So the first thing that that the NOP team found was improved response time. Just by upgrading, no additional optimizations, just by upgrading the platform, the underlying platform itself, you see the faster response times, 53% improvement when they went from .NET 5 to .NET 6, 13% improvement from .NET 6 to .NET 7. That's just because of the optimizations that were done to .NET itself.
So no code changes on your part, just upgrading to the newer version.
Right. These were just the upgrades. Now the NOP team applies their own optimizations on top of that. So some of these times might actually be better. But this graph is representing just kind of like the core optimizations that we saw just by doing those version upgrades.
That's impressive, Rich. And so, I love to see real world examples because, we always say it's the fastest .NET, but, we really do put a lot of work into it. Now, I'm also excited a little bit. Like, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at .NET 8 yet. It's around the corner. It's got even more improvements.
For sure. We're excited for that. The NOP team has been busy working on the next version, and that will be .NET 8. The plan is to release that 1 week after .NET 8 goes live. So probably most likely will be in November. So it's right around the corner. But they generally they've been following the release cycle of the different .NET releases. So they start working with it early. They work with the beta versions all the way up through the release candidates, and then are generally ready a week after the new .NET launches. Nice. So in terms of for .NET 7, better memory or lower memory usage as we walk through the different versions. And then load distribution, it's kind of hard to, it might be hard to kind of visualize on a graph, but the spike in processing has flattened out as we've upgraded through different versions of .NET to the point where .NET 7 provides us one of the flattest load distribution levels that we've seen, which means that all of your customers are having the same kind of response times on their pages. They're having similar experiences. There's not as much disruption in, we just processed 5 requests and now we've got to do some garbage collection or something. It has flattened everything out, so much more consistent response times for the site across the board.
That's impressive. And one thing that I love that this speaks to is the COGS, the cost of goods savings, because internally there's a lot of teams at Microsoft that use .NET, and we see a similar thing. And they're run like whole separate entities almost, right, within Microsoft. So even when they upgrade and they tell us, oh, we've seen millions of dollars in savings, right? That's what we want to offer, is that just by these upgrades that you can get that. Otherwise, it's almost like leaving money on the table, right? So just by a simple upgrade, that. Now, let me ask, was there a big challenge when you went from, let's say, .NET Framework to .NET 5, .NET 6?
I would say no major obstacles. I'd say most of the things are the NOP team definitely takes advantage of new tools that become available in the different releases, and then they kind of decide what they're going to pass on to developers. But I'd say most of the upgrades are either change. Most of the upgrade work is related to changes in maybe the data access layer, or changes in the way some of the presentation is done. NOP team does a great job of minimizing the number of like API changes and things like that from release to release. So it does make it a little less painful when you're doing these upgrades. But the thing you have to factor in is that generally you've built a bunch of customizations in a plugin. And when you do that upgrade, you're probably going to spend most of your time just upgrading the code in your plugin to make sure it matches any new method signatures, any new libraries that are being used. They just went in .NET or NOP 4.4, they just moved everything to async and await. That was a massive upgrade because it touched almost every service in the system. But we also got massive performance improvements. So it was absolutely worth it. And that's another thing that I think is significant about this platform, is that all the data access, all the external API calls are async, and you don't tie up your thread pool with a bunch of requests waiting on a third party to send some data back to you. And that also kind of speaks back to this load distribution graph where the user experience is more consistent.
Well architected. I love that. Yeah,
absolutely.
And so if folks want to read more about this, that link at the bottom, we could put that in the description. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Do you mind showing a little bit about that getting started experience? Like, so if I download this today and I want to set up, Mehul's new .NET shirts, come get them for $1 billion. How do I do that?
$1 billion shirts. Sure. I've actually come up with kind of an example of how we would extend. Let's bring this guy back in. We go back to the home page, and here we go. So let's say we've got a product or enhancement request where a client wants to replace the photo gallery with a 3D model. They've taken it, they've scanned all of their products and created 3D models and want to replace the 2D images with a 3D model. How do we do that? So we can do that with a plugin, and let's kind of take a step through that. And basically a plugin is just a class library. Okay. It's nothing more than just a C# class library. The first thing we need to do is we need a way to upload our 3D model and associate it with a product, right? Well, NOP provides these injection points, these UI injection points called widget zones. And So we can actually add a 3D model upload to the native product admin page without editing any nopCommerce code directly. And we're going to do that with a view component. And we've got this view component that's registered to be notified when there's a widget zone in the system called admin widget zones.product details block. And that's the product admin edit page. When we get to that, we're going to inject our own view. And let me show you what that looks like. So we're going to go back to the admin here. And right now we go, let's see, let's look for this shoe, and we go through here and we've got all of these different settings that you can apply to this product. We're going to add one more. And since I've already kind of built the code for this, we're just going to turn on this widget for this 3D upload. So we've turned it on. If we go back to our product details page, now we've got a 3D model upload. We've just injected a new UI into the core product admin without modifying their code. So, with something like this, then let's see, we're going to go ahead, and I've got a model. I built this off of Babylon.js, which uses these GLB files. I borrowed one of the GLB files from a demo project. So we just drag that onto the site, and we're going to upload it. And now that model is associated with the product.
All right, so I want to make sure I fully grasp what you just did there. It was very slick. It was very fast. So let's break it down. So in essence, on the admin screen, you wanted to inject a way to say, I want some way to do some custom, maybe it's a whole separate category of 3D model upload. Mm-hmm. And you went to the UI portion, added that extensibility point by saying, here's what it's going to look like, use this. And then went to the admin screen, we're able to enable that, and then magic, it appears.
Yeah, I mean, now there's some infrastructure under the hood. I have a database table where I store the product ID with the 3D file name. So when you upload this, it saves it to its own table. But that's pretty much all this is really doing for us. So it's building this table of these associations of these model files with a product ID.
I see. And so now I'm kind of connecting the dots earlier when you said, hey, scenario-wise, I'm an ASP.NET developer, and if I want to be able to do things like this, then I'm not going to get that through some other, commerce software.
Exactly. You have to do it as kind of a bolt-on the side, but Nop gives you, I actually looked this up the other day, 500 different UI integration points, 500 different widget zones where you can inject your own UI throughout the entire site, both the admin side and the front end side of the site. So they give you lots of options in terms of either replacing functionality or adding additional UIs.
That's impressive. So as many places as you can, you've made it extensible. And and let's talk a little bit about in terms of, I imagine that, some of the newer ASP.NET workloads that are coming out. Have you thought about, for example, are customers asking about or building on and say, hey, I love that I can build my own React, but what if I want Blazor or something like that? Is that some things that you're also seeing?
I haven't seen it personally. Our clients generally don't go that deep in the technology. So I don't really necessarily know what the kind of the types of Blazor requests that have been coming in. I'm sure there are plenty because we have the whole community is made up of .NET developers. But yeah, I don't necessarily have any information on that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see because likely somebody has probably already made one. You never know, right?
Probably.
Given that it's global.
Yeah.
Is there a forum or something like that you guys have where folks can ask these kind of questions?
Sure, absolutely. There is on the nopCommerce site, we've got the community forums is the most active place you're going to find. There are new topics, posted there. You see some just posted a couple hours ago where you can ask questions. If you're a NOP developer, you can offer assistance. And this is closely monitored by the NOP team. Andre, the creator of NOP, posts on here regularly. So he's got his eyes on what people are asking for. So they really understand their customer base, meaning developers, and they engage with them on a regular basis.
I love that. For developers by developers. It's the same philosophy we have in .NET.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let me ask, so we know it's open source. How safe and secure is it?
Yeah. So in terms of security, let's see. I had a quick slide on that. Let me pull these guys out of here.
Sure.
Where's my deck here? Let's jump down. Security. Yeah. So open source, awesome. Nothing, full transparency. There's nothing hidden. You're on a modern .NET platform. They continue to follow the updates. So you're going to have the latest security that's native to .NET. They do regular releases, major release once a year, and minor releases a few times throughout the year. So I mentioned the marketplace. So, third parties can create their own plugins and upload them to the marketplace. Well, to get a plugin into the marketplace, you have to submit the source code to the nopCommerce team, and they are going to review it because not every plugin in the marketplace is open source. The developer can choose whether it's open source or not. But either way, the NOP team reviews the code to make sure that it's safe. They've got all the good things for PCI compliance and GDPR, reCAPTCHA, anti-forgery tokens. You can configure your password security policy. And then there's an access control list. So you can control for each user role, you can control what parts of NOP people have access to, especially if you're going to have maybe content editors in the back end and you don't want them messing with maybe some of the shipping configuration settings.
I know. Katie never gives me access to any of the .NET sites.
For you, Mehul, never.
Now, let me ask, who is beyond Volvo, which is super impressive? Is it okay to share perhaps what other customers might be using that folks might have known of?
Yeah.
It sounds like a very impressive product that's been around a while.
Yeah. So let's see. I've got another one, Wall Pops. You may or may not have heard of it, but they are featured on Good Morning America a couple of times throughout the year. They are they sell kind of home design decor. They sell, the popular thing are these stickers that you can put on your wall to decorate your rooms. But they're featured on Good Morning America a few times throughout the year. And the interesting thing about that is that when that spot hits, it's like maybe a 3 or 4 minute spot. But as soon as that spot hits, the traffic spikes on the site and everybody flocks to it. And Good Morning America runs in 4 different time zones at different times. So we see 4 different spikes on those mornings. And we can see up to 20,000 users a minute. Now we have that site set up on an Azure virtual machine scale set. We've got 32 nodes for those types of promotional days, and the site handles it perfectly. So great example of something standing up to to that type of load.
That is impressive. Quick question. So hosting wise, I mean, you've mentioned that folks can probably do it on-prem or something like that, but like, do you have a lot of folks who are hosting in the cloud services like Azure App Service where quick plug, you can get like free sites, right? So got to mention, .NET runs great on there, but obviously .NET runs everywhere. So no matter where you want to run it, somebody is running .NET, you can on there. So do you find that customers do a lot of on-prem, or are they moving more to the cloud these days?
It's a mixture of both. A lot of the people that come to us already have an on-prem site, but after we talk to them and talk about growing their business, a lot of times that's kind of in addition to building the new website, that's a transition to the cloud. And they go from on-prem, which, it might be a server running in a closet somewhere. And they're like, okay, we got to get more serious about our e-com business. Let's put this up someplace where it's going to be safe. And yeah, they can do something like an Azure App Service in that case.
And, and talking all about this extensibility, I know we're coming closer to time here, but I wanted to ask, are folks also looking, because we're in this moment right now with AI, and, we at the .NET team, we're telling folks about intelligent apps. In fact, next month at .NET Conf, you'll see sessions about it and all that great stuff. Are you finding customers are interested to maybe offer up, that functionality that says, hey, how do I bring in maybe a chat bot, maybe some intelligence, maybe leverage Azure OpenAI or OpenAI's ChatGPT models and so forth?
Yeah, that would be some really interesting stuff. I'm hoping people come to us for that. I have not heard any of those requests yet, but there's some really exciting opportunities to work with OpenAI, and I think the ability to plug in and do seamless integrations to nop is a huge advantage for this platform. It's one of the reasons why we've been working with it for over 10 years. And when people do come to us with those types of requests, we'll be able to say, yes, we're going to be able to do that.
All right. I just have sort of one last question about what are the top features that customers love about nopCommerce? If you had to make like a top 5, top 3 list.
Yeah. One, they like the fact that it's open source. They like, even though they don't necessarily host the source in their own repository, they like the idea that they're in full control of the source, and they can basically do anything that they want, and that they're not boxed in. A lot of people come to us because they've had a bad experience with some of the other hosted e-commerce solutions where they want to do something custom and then they can't. And they kind of they can't grow their business the way they'd like, and they kind of hit a brick wall. So they either discover NOP or they come to us and we introduce them to it. But yeah, it's that you've got access to the source, you've got ultimate customizability, and then security is definitely a big one. The fact that it runs on a Microsoft stack, that's one of the reasons why people choose this. They want to be on the Microsoft platform. They don't want to be on a PHP platform. And then I think tooling is probably sure. Yeah. I think the third thing is probably custom design, where there are a lot of third-party themes that you can purchase to really quickly skin your site. But if you want to do something really custom for your brand, again, that ultimate flexibility is what you get on this platform.
That's fantastic. And because it's open source, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, what does support look like?
Yeah, so support, some of the support options. Um, so there's a global network of technology solution partners like ourselves that can help you with your site. There is a plugin and a theme marketplace where you can purchase third-party plugins at very reasonable cost. You can jump on the community forum if you're a developer and you have a question, and you'll be surprised how many people flock around that and want to help you out. And then nopCommerce themselves offers a premium support service if you have like just a one-time need, or if you just want to have them on standby for, you know, kind of like an annual basis.
Awesome. And one last thing was that site that you showed that's out of the box, that's literally downloading your SDK or install and then opening up Visual Studio. It's a file new experience pretty much. I mean, without any coding. Is that F5 or is there a little bit of tweaking?
It's download and F5. And the first thing that you'll see is a NOP installation screen, which asks you to enter an admin login and a database connection string. And then it does its thing. It installs, it creates the tables, you restart it, and boom, you've got that exact same representation that I was showing you guys out of the box.
And that's fantastic. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, let me, so Katie, I don't know if we have time for any questions. I think some of the NOP folks in the chat might have been answering that. So Rich, Katie, I'll give it back to you.
Yeah, we'll have to unfortunately wrap things up for today. We could easily do another hour with Rich. Rich, thank you for sharing your expertise. We may have to bring you back based on how crazy the chat has been. But I would like to thank all of our viewers out there for tuning into today's show. And as a reminder, you can check out other .NET Live TV streams like the one you watched today over at dot.net/live. As a quick reminder, if you have anything you're passionate about in the .NET space and you feel you would like to share that and be a guest on this show, please head over to aka.ms/onnetliveguest, scrolling on the bottom of your screen. We do hope to see you next time, where we'll talk about more .NET goodness. But until then, stay productive. Check out e-commerce. Thanks again for tuning in.